This was a bad idea before, and it's still a bad idea now. Hey there, this episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you, all of the incredible people who share these videos on social media, and the amazing generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those amazing nerds later in the video. I need to take you back to the long distant days of the Samsung Galaxy S8. Back in the long ago yesterdays of the year 2017, there was an experiment in South Korean phone camera design that I found more than a little annoying. Samsung had a clever idea for the shutter button that LG would also later copy. The shutter on a camera has this one critical, important role. You push button when you want to take photo. It's kind of the most important control on a camera. But Samsung decided that wasn't good enough. And in a terribly misguided decision, they tried to add extra functionality to the shutter button. Even though we had pinch to zoom gestures, Samsung made the on-screen shutter a button and a rocker for the zoom. I'm not just picking on Samsung today. Here's what I had to say about it while I was reviewing the Galaxy S8 for Pocket Now.
The changes Samsung focused on are completely unnecessary and do little to improve the camera experience. Pinch to zoom works terrifically well, but Samsung has complicated the shutter button to add a rocker-style zoom in software. This alone has caused me to miss more shots than any other change. This phone isn't the easiest to hold in your fingertips, but now, if you don't nail a perpendicular press of the shutter button, if you hit at an angle or slide even just a little, the phone will think you're trying to zoom.
Now, boy howdy, criticizing Samsung, so many people disagreed with me, or at least argued that it wasn't a big deal. But all those people were wrong. I was right. And it wasn't long before Samsung abandoned that awful design. Apple, in their infinite wisdom, has revived this idea, and other companies kind of copying Apple they've copied Apple. Instead of just having a dedicated switch with a two-stage button, we're adding this clever capacitive strip that works kind of like a button, but it also does more. I don't want more. I want focus and take picture. The action of swiping to clumsily control a zoom is not as precise as a pinch to zoom, and it's not as smooth as using the volume rocker like a camcorder style zoom. Worse, it just kind of gets in the way when you handle the phone. It registers touches when you're adjusting your grip, and I absolutely cannot trust a rear camera selfie, and it forces the user to be more specific in their actions. You have to think about using it more than just pushing the button. Just like the touchscreen controls from almost 8 years ago, we've come full circle on a really dumb design. It is cool tech. I mean, it's fun to have a buttonless button, and I like that feel on laptop trackpads using haptics. I miss the squeeze gesture on older Pixels. But this idea is sullied by adding complexity to what should be a simple interaction, maybe the simplest interaction on a camera. The only saving grace I can find as I play with phones like this, the Oppo Find X8 Pro, is that I can disable the zoom in the camera app settings, but I really shouldn't have to. Whatever else an action button might be used for, I'm sure we'll see clever ways to add shortcuts or quick actions, but the photography stuff really isn't any better than having an old school mechanical shutter. That's just the way I see it, and I was right before with on-screen camera controls, and a bunch of people said I was wrong back then, so I heartily await all of the arguments of why camera control style features are the real deal today. Maybe because Apple's done it, it's somehow different? I don't see how it's different. Join me down in the comments for the fun nerd debates. Doing something clever just to be clever really isn't better. And in situations like this, it kind of gets in our way. I love digging into new phones, new camera technologies, and the folks who get to see the results of my testing first are my amazing patrons who will get exclusive access to my Find X8 Pro camera deep dive. I'm gonna be going pretty deep, as this was the phone that I also was shooting most of my experiences traveling through India. So one part camera review, one part vacation footage. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. This list of names scrolling by on your screen, these are the folks directly helping to keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They're basically the coolest geeks in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet. At Some Gadget Guy, basically everywhere, but these days I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, on the Blue Sky, A little less so on the Threads and the Facebooks and the Instagrams. Definitely not on the Twitters. And I will catch you all on the next video.